So thank you so much for talking to me about art today. And I know that you are a bit concerned about not being a philosopher, talking about yin yang. But I would say that it's precisely because none of us are experts in philosophy tonight, perhaps apart from Nick and I and a couple of and a few coming from the audience, would be studying philosophy at a very scholarly and academic context. But I think Leilei's painting would definitely give us a learning opportunity to reinterpret yin yang from not only a philosophical way, but also a visual, a technical and artistic way. So before we started this, walking through of the series of Leilei's work, I would like to tell the story about what connected Leilei to the China Center. I think, if I remember correctly, it was before the retirement of Professor Glenn Dudbridge at the China Center. Leilei was introduced, I think, at that time by Sheila Vanka, curator and professor at the Ashmolean Museum, who was also working at the China Center, who is still working at the China Center. But then it was Sheila that introduced both and to allow for that opportunity for Leilei to paint the portrait of Professor Dudbridge. And so we all thank Leilei for that wonderful piece that is still hanging on the wall in this building that we're appreciating today. And I'm really happy that Leilei has accepted to come to China Center today and to share his latest series of work. And so I would start my question with maybe the most sensitive elements of the theme today. So gender. I think we are all stunned by how many elements of nudity we can see in Leilei's work. Especially a lot of times it's shown in the shape of hands, torsos, human figures, faces, etc. So my first question would like to try to open up a space for nudity, gender, and yin yang. I was wondering, when you were painting those female bodies, Leilei, were you primarily following contemporary art practices or even Western traditions of the old masters painting of the body, or in your techniques, did you also apply any elements of Chinese classical traditional paintings related to the ink usage?
Great, thank you, Mehmet. Firstly, I'm very honored to be here to share my experience with you. And one thing I must say, I'm not a philosopher. My knowledge is quite limited. Also, in that field, maybe my English is not enough words to to explain. But I got my money here that I can help. If you say Chinese, will be probably easier if we're talking about the yun, qi, etc., etc. Mm-hmm. Talk about the nudity, right? Because we say nude painting, right? It's a very big subject, and we all know this subject being forbidden for thousands of years in China. It's not allowed, not even allowed nude. Even you can't show your face, you can't show your teeth, you can't show your arm. That is a cultural background. But meanwhile, we all see they got the massive of erotic pictures, I don't say it's art, right? But that shows that so the double standard or hypocritical part of this cultural background, which is the nude painting as art only started from the early 20th century. For that generation, studied in Europe and bring it back to China, such as Xu Beihong, Liu Haizhu, that generation, and have to fight, of course. In the middle, we all know, have another break for quite a period. And then after 1980s, and be possible. And but nowadays, I got a lot of different direction, different scenes, and I go to it's amazing scene. For myself, I must say, this is one of the very important to me since childhood. So, do I allow to say a little bit earlier? I talk maybe a couple of little story. When I was very young, probably certainly before primary school, maybe 6 or whatever, or before 7 definitely. And the first time, my mom took me to the female shower room.
Yes.
You all know in China, the shower room, all of the common like that big. Yeah, lots of showers. Yeah, but my mom says, a lot of mist. You can't see very much. My brother refused to go in, but I went in. That is amazing. I just feel 白花花一片. How to say it in English?
The naked female bodies.
Yeah. I just feel so beautiful. I've never seen that so beautiful. Naturally, as a child, but I can't remember too much detail, too middle part. But I just feel, I remember I have on the opposite, there is quite a young lady there in the shower and sing 洪湖水洪湖 water wave beat wave 洪湖水浪打浪.
Yes. On that point, I would definitely, if I'm allowed, to add on a little bit of the observation that I have upon your techniques that emphasize the human body, especially the female body, in a way that actually makes the yin and the yang in a place of balance. Because when Leilei was talking about the female body, the vocabularies that he used actually tend to be light and white, 白花花. And indeed, in that one, for instance, Leilei would like to use light and white, and even the technique of blank leaving on the paper to be left for the part for the female body instead of for the male body. Whereas in traditional yin-yang theory, the female actually reconciles or corresponds to the yin element that represents the absurd, the dark, and the invisible. So I think in that way, I see that you are actually maybe subconsciously or unconsciously playing with that stereotypical notion of femininity as being the absurd. Whereas you mentioned that it actually brings you the light.
Yeah, that is go into quite a lot of detail of the philosophy and painting language. Can I just use a couple of minutes to finish the little story?
Of course.
Yeah, because I quite like to say a little bit about this background, how it's the life leading me to today. Yeah, that story, I just feel, just can I continue? Well, I try to be very quick.
Yes,
All right,
please.
yeah, very quick. And I saw that young woman sing there. I just feel very, very beautiful. But even today, I can't remember details. I got a strong will, hope she can turn around, show the back. I don't know why, but I just feel so beautiful. Yeah. But later, for many, many years later, I try to think why I feel it's so beautiful. And then very much later, I read art theory. They say for in the world, the most beautiful line that created the whole universe is a woman's back line. That is, I can't remember who said that, but that's quite emotional. Of course, it's not a geometric way, right? And but later on, I would think why is a very, very little child was so big shocked and big excited about it. That is the very beginning to wake up. Something wake up in my mind, right? I thought, okay, it is a plump, yeah, rich, soft, resilience, and safe, whatever the reason. That's very much related to the mother, the maternal love, right? And that's why, okay, that is a long story. And a few years later, when I was about Jia Baoyu's age, when she traveling the Taixu Huanjing, about 12, right? Probably either earlier or slightly later. That that time, I never forgot that story. I went visit a professor with my mom. The professor come back from Europe. He studied, and his wife is a sculptor. And in their house, in the west of Beijing, and they just sitting there chatting about education, about my mother working in the Beijing Medical University, right? Chatting the education, the hospital, etc., etc. I just feel bored. I just wandering around the house myself, and I walk in a room with a big bookcase. On the bookcase shelf, there is a marble, white, pure white marble sculpture, three grace. My God, that's shocking. I never seen the beautiful thing like that. I must say that age is not only stimulated, it's really sexual spirit, stimulate. I feel shamed, but nothing shamed about, but that I realized from that day onwards, I have a secret, which means I'm beginning to growing up, beginning to independent, right? And that might be one of the very important reasons leading to get to the art road. So to the, yeah, because every born different. Some children just crazy with the numbers, some with animals, and some with, but I just feel that beauty, that is the best thing in the world, right? And and then for that's too many stories. I pass it. Make it simple. Make it simple.
Make it simple.
Right.
Yeah.
Make it simple. Um, and some also during the Cultural Revolution, some tragedy stories. All those. That is another story. But generally, why beginning to do the art, even though during the childhood I studied traditional Chinese art, with the lines and the dots, brush, ink, right? And but from the 70s onwards, I studied Western art because in the life experience, I feel I need more way to express what I learned, what I'm feeling. right? And after I did some years, of course. You can see from the, shall we go back to very beginning, one of the line drawing. And that is 1976, very beginning. Yeah.
This one?
No, next one. So 1976 is one of the most important year in whole China whole history. That is the biggest turn. Stop the old system. Later on, the picture shows from 221 BC onwards until today, still in that nothing changed. From 1976, beginning to change. And that time, there's before the Cultural Revolution finished, and there's a few biggest man like Zhou Enlai and Mao Zedong dead, and big Tangshan earthquake and the year of dragon is that year, and I worked for the China Central Television, and we went to Tangshan and facing the dead, facing all the old stories, 10 years, and during the evening, stayed in the tent and draw, just like a flowing water come out. Flowing water, that is first step of my art creation, right? Creative work. But this work is one of that period, 1976, in my 20s. But now in the British Museum collection. And they want to collect some of my early work. So that is called wind. The wind, of course, just a few lines, certainly is a female, right? Female seeing. And that certainly is myself, is a man. It's kind of a symbolic that in that living condition, what we yearn for, what we looking for is freedom, is a humanity, right? Human right. We have nothing. So I didn't even think about the yin-yang philosophy, but the things naturally come out, which means a deeply buried seed in my mind is to the female, particularly female body, female beauty, is worship and praise, let's put it that way, in my mind. Yeah, totally different from the ancient old China. In old China, women just a tool, produce young generations. Yeah, so that is deeply underneath the things to carry on. Yeah, and okay, now so thank you. It might be too much, but I think this background, better to
No, we
to
haven't.
mention a little bit. Yeah, how is leading to today.
Yeah, I don't think we'll ever have enough of your stories. But yeah, after talking about the female bodies, I think to give the gentlemen in this room a little bit of freedom and equality, I would like to also talk about a series of masculine representation that you added in this portfolio, especially this series of Kua Fu, a man named Kua Fu, a legendary figure in Chinese mythology who chased the sun and in order to accomplish this race with the fastest center of the universe, the sun, and he sacrificed himself through exhaustion, and his bodies became part of the universe. His hair turned into river, and his bones turned into mountains. His body turned into the land. So that mythology has given Leilei the inspiration of this theory. And my question is, has your artistic style evolved in stages? For instance, from rigidity to softness, from order to freedom? is this evolution related to yin-yang at all? For instance, in your series of works on Kuafu, what motivates you to paint Kuafu? Is his masculinity balanced by some feminine elements, by some yin elements?
This yin and yang is sometimes not that like a translation word by word that the interpreter, because some yin yang, as we know, simply there is a symbol of yin yang Tai Chi, right? Tai Chi got the 4 points. This Tai Chi pattern, the 4 points. First point is opposite, black and white, opposite, 2 parts combined together. That's firstly. Secondly, is each part including other part. There's white in black, black in white. And the third part is these things keep keep ever moving, right? And the number 4 is they transferring to each other. So sometimes you hardly to say this is yin, that's yang, that's yes, not that black and white. Could be black and white, yeah. And if the sky, right, and earth, but if we relatively very in the space look at the earth or sky, it's different angle, different way. But that's back to that particular paper, that whole theory, whole theory. I call it the sun in my dream. From 1990 to 1995, after a big thing happened in China, and I dropped all other paintings and did a series about my small half of my life, what happened, what I learned, what I experienced, what I realized. I did a group of pictures. Each picture got a general theme. And combine whatever the way I can use the painting image, the calligraphy, the poem, etc., and then put them together to express internal feeling, internal thought, philosophy. That thing we realized it is a continuing Chinese literati painting tradition. Chinese literati painting is painting itself is not the purpose. It's through the painting image, calligraphy, and the writing to bring out internal philosophy. And Michael Sullivan says, you talk about modern literati painting. He said Leilei's recent work is more close to literati idea 更接近文人画的理想。迈克尔的原话是这么说的。But visually is modern. It's not a traditional literati painting anymore. And but just now the picture, the Kuafu, Kuafu is he's quite determined to catch the sign. He got the determination, but he ran and ran and ran. Finally, he caught the sun, but he died in exhaustion and thirsty. But in that picture, I didn't try to catch the sun. There's a big rope. I will carry that sun and pulling that sun out to this land. That shows what shows responsibility and fate and duty, responsibility, right? I think whole that theme was got that kind of feeling. If we talk the yin and the yang, because when Mama gave me this theme, I try to think immediately. I know time is very short. Immediately jump out 2 words. One is 性, but one
sex
is relationship. Thank you. This is 性, not only sex.
Okay.
性, because nowadays that is a language. The language is different, shows the culture different, right? In China, they don't have certain words to describe what is 性. It is. What normally we say 性 means sex, but if we say 人性,
nature, human nature,
兽性,
animal nature,
神性,
God's nature,
属性, 性质都是用这个性。They all use these words. What it is? I thought it is the thing's origin, the fundamental what it is, right? So that I think that is it's not only sex, but anyway, this kind of things. I think about the human very much 人性 very much combine 兽性 and 神性。
So you mean
yeah.
Human nature combines the animalistic and the deity's
Spirit,
nature,
yeah,
spirit together.
We say 天性天性和这是怎么说？黄帝内经，黄帝内
The
经
Yellow Empress in a
黄帝内
sutra.
经 they describe this is in that way. They say 天之为我者，德也。The heaven to me is moral. 地之为 the earth to me. 地之为我者，气也 is air, right?
It's the vital force.
Yeah. 得流气薄而生者也。生 the bone is because between the heaven and earth. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Huangdi Neijing is a classical medical Chinese text that describes different way of nourishing life in a hygienic way, lifestyles, and also different functions
Chinese medicine,
of the Chinese medicine.
Yeah. And then he carry on. 故生之来谓之精
So we were born out of
the thing together with the bone is a jing essence. Essence. 两精相搏谓之神. The two essence combination become shen, spirit. Yeah.
Whose spirit are you talking about?
The human, we got the body part and the spirit part, right? Yeah. 两精相搏谓之神. 随神往来谓之魂. The following the shen, spirit moving is called the 魂, the soul. And 并经而出没谓之魄. Yeah, the moving together with the 并经而出没谓之魄. Yeah, this is if someone damaged, lost the 精神 we say 失魂落魄.
Yes.
为病而出没，这个关系 the relationship with this few things and 谓之魄。所以任物者心也。The heart to recognize things. 心有所意谓之意。Yeah, when the heart remember something become the opinion. 心有所意谓之意。意之所存谓之志。The place to store the opinion called ambition. 因志而存变谓之思. Because of this ambition, we want to change, we want to move things, called thinking. 因思而远目谓之虑. Yeah, because of this consideration, think you want to see further, they called 虑, 思虑，就是说从精神魂魄这个一步的 step by step, 在这 logic, 黄帝内经的 logic is like that. It's like that. So sorry, I too far away.
So Leilei was referring to how the Chinese medical texts were trying to analyze different human organs in its relationship with the spirit, which is a materialization of the vital force of our human life, and po, another form of qi, the vital force that that is related to another organ. And so we have all those narratives about the medical way of looking at the human body that relates your spirit, your emotional, your psychological functioning with different parts of the body that you actually live in. So that was the theory that he was trying to refer to.
Yeah, because this all of these words, all of the radical of the characters are heart, all related to the heart, but the organs relate to the flesh, right? To the flesh. Okay, that's too far. Let's find another occasion.
Yes.
Another occasion.
Okay.
Yeah, I carry on very fast. I want make this clear. So we all know there's one famous saying called the 食色性也, right? But because of in the ancient Chinese, classic Chinese, there's no marks, no comma, no marks. How to 断句, how to read is very important. Actually, we should read 食色性也. I think 应该这样断句，就是 eat and produce the next generation. This is 性. This is very basic, fundamental. I think I quite agree with that. And so this 性 is combined with human nature and God,
God's nature.
God nature, combined with animal nature and God nature. Anyway, so to me, I totally man, woman, yin and yang, they absolutely equally, right? But they are symbols of different things. And for example, that picture, just now the black and white,
the woman and the man.
Woman and man, yeah.
Yeah.
That picture should be showed in the stars exhibition. Just now, Man mentioned about the stars. They nowadays recognize the beginning of Chinese contemporary art. This was a group picture. This is one of them. All to do with analyze this nation, this history, and during the show, there's a poem as well, side by side. And this picture, the poem, I remember one of my very good friend, a good poem is, 在我民族温厚的性格里，土地变得柔软，感情也变得坚硬。In the character of my nation, 在我民族温柔的性格 the land becomes soft and the emotion becomes solid. So this solid, just naturally, I didn't think yin and yang, man, but solid feeling definitely is more man, right? And the soft land, rich land, is a woman. But Mama asked me why woman do it wide. I don't know. No, I just did.
I think it's the subconscious, rebellious Leilei that came out when you were trying to paint and stop thinking about what masculinity and femininity means. And my last question for you would be jumping beyond this duality of femininity and masculinity and looking at the portraits, I call them portraits of hands that are, to me, at times not clearly labeled with ethnicity, nationality, sexuality, or gender. They were sort of identity-less. They don't really have an identity, and yet they represent the softness, the rigidity, the solidity
Stop.
that you just mentioned. So I just were fascinated by this series of the hand that you painted, especially with the techniques of ink painting and blank leaving.
Yeah. Okay, that is that like just now I mentioned when I think of a man give the question, talk about immediately jump 2 words, right? 1 word is sex, 1 word not sex, 性.
Yes, nature.
性, yeah, nature, origin, yeah. And another one is relationship. Because yin and yang all to do with a relationship, combine or include or exchange each other relationship. But in art, we're getting into the relationship between human and world, between human being and nature, between man and woman, adult and children, young and old. There's all of this to do with this relationship. Of course, black and white, it depends on the painting visually what is suitable. Yeah. And one thing I would like to mention is traditional Chinese art is no light, no light, no shadow. It's based on calligraphy's line and dots. Yeah, for this more than 1,000 years. But my art roots carry on. I feel that is not enough to show what I feel from the life, from understanding the world. I must use Western way. Yeah, because I spent many years to learn Western art. Western art, the first thing dealing with light and shadow, right?
Yes.
Because China uses yin and yang explain everything. Therefore, Chinese painting without no light, no shadow, only got yin and yang, right? But the Western painting, the first thing is light and shadow. Otherwise, we can't see anything. Yeah, and also based on the anatomy, very correct anatomy. And in other words, we say based on the science. Yeah, 在科学基础上 ，Chinese art based on the 玄学。mysterious
metaphysics.
yeah， 所以这个是一个很不一样的。那 later on, what I want to get, my target is, I try to combine. This combine, not a side by side salad, is merged into a new thing, a different thing. It's this, both this and that. Yeah, quite often in the art galleries or auction houses, and they say, 曲老师, how can we put your work in which category? Is it Eastern art or West? Is it classic or modern? I say, as you like. As you like. Inside, I feel kind of happy. You can't put any category. It's right. That's what I want to do.
So that's a lot for us to reflect upon. Thank you so much, Leilei, for sharing. Well, due to the limited of time, I think I would just move on to the roundtable discussion.
Okay.
And we would definitely follow up all of the stories and the explanations and analysis that you have just given us in the roundtable discussion. And I'm sure that all our invited speakers would love to ask you many, many more questions and to answer questions from me and Billy. So now please welcome all of the invited speakers to come with us and join the discussion with Leilei and myself.
While we're looking them up, could you play Shift?
Oh, of course.
That was wonderful. Not enough. The time too short.